Welcome to Soar Higher with Jason Ballard, a podcast developed for leaders by leaders to inspire you to reach your highest altitude possible by providing proven strategies, resources, and expert advice to accelerate your personal and professional success beyond what you thought was possible. Well, hi there. I'm Joel Weiland, and I'm joined in studio today by your host, Jason Ballard. And today we also have the pleasure of being joined by Janna Donovan, the work stress guru. And today we're going to be talking about work stress management and preventing burnout. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Hey, Joel.
Hey,
good to see everybody.
Man, it is good to see you again as well, Jason. And we're so glad to have Miss Janna in the studio today. She's a therapist with an MBA, and she uses compassion and science as she helps business professionals prevent and recover from burnout. Are you having a good day, Miss Janna?
I actually am. Thank you so much, Joel.
I'm very glad that you were excited to join us here in the studio today. Well, let's jump right in. We have been talking in just past episodes about the importance of leadership and everything that we can know and work on as we progress in our careers to be better leaders, to be better listeners, and inspire the people around us. But we're kind of getting to the place where and I'm very hesitant to say this, but it seems like in the year and about halfway through 2022, we are coming out of the pandemic. And what that kind of looks like is a lot of confusion, and a lot of things are being lifted, and there's not really lockdowns and things like that anymore, but there's still a lot of confusion. There's still a lot of fear. There's still a lot of unknowns. And so there's a lot of people that, as they go about their lives, as they go to work or as they stay home from work, they just don't really know what to expect coming up. Is that something that you think you've seen as well, Jason?
Oh, absolutely, Joel. As a business coach out there in the world, work with all kinds of different, folks from mid-level management to CEOs, small businesses, big businesses. Stress is a very, very important topic today. The world is just uneasy today. It's just people are trying to figure out what the new norm is and where we're going and what that looks like. We've got everything from wars going on to gas prices and inflation to just a lot of inconsistency. We've got we're coming out of the pandemic. People are still trying to figure out, are we going to go back to work? Are we staying at home? Are we doing a hybrid? There's just all kinds of stuff going on out there that's just, it all boils down to one word. It's really uncertainty. And we're trying to figure that out. And nobody's has figured it all out yet. and unfortunately, that leaves people in a situation where they're just losing sleep at night. They're stressed. When you see people, everybody says, "Oh, we're good. Everything's good. We're making it. We're healthy, and we're getting by." And they tell you what they think they should be telling you, what the social norm is. But the fact of the matter is that most people aren't good. They're struggling, and so today, what we want to accomplish with this particular podcast is connecting with people that are really struggling in some form or fashion with life, with career, with family, with all these things and all this uncertainty, that we can give them hope. Yeah. We can give them access to information and resources and experts that they can connect with, trust, and improve their lives.
That sounds great. And what better person to invite into the studio with us than Miss Janna Donovan? Just give us a very quick background on you, Miss Janna, and some of the things that you've experienced in the business world.
Well, as you said, I definitely am a therapist with an MBA, which is sometimes a unique combination. I've spent 20 years in business, being everything from a marketing director to managing teams of 40. And then strange thing happened on the way to success. I also experienced that level of burnout that we're talking about. And so I decided to go back to school and get another master's and become a counselor. And that is what drives me to talk with Jason about these kinds of things, serious things like We've all talked about suicide rates, et cetera. But we can back way up from that and help people prevent this level of work stress that is so difficult for them and hard on their health, especially during this time. There were things we could do before the pandemic, and now we need to step up our game and do them even more.
That's great. So tell us, let's start from the beginning. What, or I guess, how would you define work stress? How would you define burnout?
There are a lot of physical symptoms that come up first for people with work stress. It is, we notice it. Sometimes we are losing sleep, as Jason had said before. A lot of teeth grinding, anger, sadness. Sunday night blues is a symptom of work stress. And I think we've all felt that at some job or another. Even the more serious things like high blood pressure. But I'll tell you, one of the things that sends people to come see me is irritability, because it's everybody says, "Oh, you can handle, go to work, do own your business, etc." But if you come home and bring a lot of irritability home to the family, then somebody wants us to do something about that. So work stress, that's one of the more visible symptoms of work stress. And I would say that we know that it's more dangerous than secondhand smoke, for example. So it's quite a health issue and not something we should all just take for granted. And I think that might answer your question a little bit about what we see in work stress in people.
That's really interesting. So switching over to burnout, is burnout different than work stress? Is it a result? What can you tell us about that?
Actually, burnout is the sort of the worst conclusion to work stress. If we remain work stressed and afraid and irritable and have all this uncertainty and lack of control over our environment, we then get into something that actually has three very well-known symptoms to it, and that is burnout is exhaustion, for example, mental or physical. There's a cynicism. We're detached from the other people we work with. And then the third thing is that we actually hate our jobs and we lose confidence that anything we're doing actually matters.
That's really interesting. So switching over to you, Jason, just in your world of business coaching, have you seen any of these symptoms pop up in people? Is this something that you regularly run into while you're coaching people?
All the time at every level. People are stressed. People are burnt out. They are just exhausted in many, many ways. Whether they flat out tell you that in those terms, sometimes you just have to, pay attention to what they don't say and the body language and just those kind of symptoms. I mean, when you're talking about stress, when I kind of look at the difference between stress and burnout, people that are stressed are busy, under the gun, can't keep up, making excuses all the time and late to things and always kind of disorganized and just struggling to kind of keep up with everything. And that makes them feel as though they're kind of falling behind or failing and not performing up to standards, right? At least in their own mind with their expectations. The burnout side, that's when people have just given up. They're just like, you know what? I'm overwhelmed. The wave of the world has crashed on me. I drank all the salt water I care to drink, and I'm not going out in the water anymore. I don't care. I'm just giving up, and I'm just angry. I'm tired. And the heck with it. I'm just not going to do it. And so what you want to do is obviously manage the stress, being honest with yourself. When you look in the mirror, are you really doing well? If you get up 5 days in a row and you're just constantly frantic and stressed and just feeling uneasy and confused and frustrated, then you're going through some very stressful things. We all do, but what separates us is some people can learn how to manage that and keep it under control and have outlets to release that. It's kind of like a pressure valve almost, kind of let that pressure out a little bit. But some people don't know how to do that. And hopefully today they'll learn how to do that so you don't get to the point of burnout, where you just give up and you're kind of hopeless.
Yeah. So
the dangerous thing, Joel, that I see is that actually people assume that the level of work stress Jason is talking about is just should be expected. That they just
normal.
have to sign up for it. It's normal. If I went down the list of environmental things that cause work stress at work, you'd say, oh, that's every job. That's every place you ever worked. So I think people do sit in it longer and longer, and they hide it from other people because they just figure that's what I should expect.
It goes back to pride. People don't want to let other people down, and they feel like if they complain or if they say something or they ask for help, it's a sign of weakness. I'm not good enough. And nobody wants to put themselves out there and be vulnerable and say, you know what, I'm stressed the heck out. And so sometimes people will go through these motions, but sometimes as leaders and managers and supervisors, you need to be informed on what to look for. So if people are going through things like, relationship challenges, deaths in the family, divorces, custody issues, changing jobs, if they're moving, if there's some financial things going on personally, those are all kind of warning signs that I've seen over the years and the people I've seen that we needed to help. The personal life has issues going on in that realm, or those are the most common stressful things in your personal life. But then also rolls over to the professional life where people show up to late for meetings or they forget to do things, or they start getting kind of scatterbrained, or they get irritable. I think Janna was talking about being irritability with other coworkers, and there's stress and tension and kind of turf wars and just anxiety. There's just a lot of it. No, they're not at peace. They're not just clicking along on all cylinders. There's just a lot of strife there. And when all those things kind of come together like a perfect storm, it's like a ticking time bomb. That person, it's just a matter of time before they implode or explode. And, we're seeing a lot of, things in the news, unfortunately, people going to work, hurting other people and just doing absurd things because that happened. Nobody recognized it. And there's a bad result.
Yeah. Can you echo that, Janna? What are some other triggers? Obviously, it strikes true that it wouldn't just be the things at work that would make you be very stressed or even progress towards burnout, but obviously the things at home, things in personal lives. Well, what are some other triggers or even some more specific things at home that can cause us to experience work stress and burnout?
I think we do need to look at people and look at the habits that they have at work and the habits that they have at home. Like he said, being late to meetings, disengaging generally, isolating, and not wanting to join with folks, that might mean they're actually all the way into burnout. Burnout is something that is actually solved better individually. That actually, by the time you get all the way there, you don't really need to go to the company picnic or more work, happy hours, etc. What we've seen in research is that really people need to reconnect with the people who are in their inner circle, and they might need to take an afternoon off and go to their kid's birthday party. They might need to go to their shooting range or something like that is more individual and private. So we want to look at some of their activities that they don't find any joy in anymore. For example, if they used to play a lot of golf with everybody or something like that, those can be real signs that someone is in trouble and really isolating, and you don't know what's going on underneath.
Well, Janna brought up something very, very critical to this conversation: individuality. Because there's this broader stigma out there that, suck it up, you'll be okay, it'll be better tomorrow, and you don't want to look bad, you don't want to let the team down, you don't want to come across as not being able to do what you need to do. But everybody deals with things differently. Generationally, baby boomers perceive things and deal with things differently than the millennials. men and women look at things in many ways differently and handle things differently. Younger folks, older folks, people, that are married versus people that aren't married, everybody is different in their circumstances. While there are a lot of common, touch points, this person is stressed and they've got financial issues, and this person's stressed and maybe they've got some financial issues, but the circumstances that really surround all that are different. And then their ability to cope with it and deal with it and be open to, folks like Janna, professionals that can help them. All of these dynamics are different individually. And we can't treat everybody with, kid gloves. We can't treat everybody the same and just throw money at it in a counselor, because not every counselor is right for every individual and their issues. I'm sure there are folks that you've interacted with that maybe weren't the best fit for you at that time, and vice versa.
I think one of the most common questions I get is, oh, you mean you can talk to someone about your work? And since the 25% of Americans name work stress as their top stressor in their life. So it would actually be great if more counselors could say, yes, I can talk to you about your work, and really talk in depth about it.
Yeah.
The individual part, yes. In fact, I just read a great article from a very prestigious school that said that your burnout is your burnout, and it's very private, and people want to keep all those details very private. They don't want HR to know. They don't want their project manager to know, because they want to continue having high profile work, very, very high pressure work. And they're afraid, kind of like we said, an athlete who wants playing time. And if they show you that they're hurt, they may not get that playing time. That means they're going to develop. They're going to show you that they're a hero. They're going to show you that they can do all of it. So they need privacy. They really need to come somewhere. If it's not a counselor, they can go to mentors, business coaches like yourself, that it's totally private to be able to have that conversation. And there's no one else listening, and no one back where they work to think badly of them or think differently of them, I should say.
That's a great point. If you're out there and you're listening to this podcast, and I hope you are, at some point, whether it's you individually or you working with people, know there are plenty of tools and resources and people out there for you to connect with. What I would advise to you is find the right person for you. That could be a family member. I've gone through personal things in my life, like most people have, and I relied on good old Uncle Jim. This guy was the rock of the family, and you always could have a safe place to land with him, but he would also dust you off and get you back on that horse too, and keep you going, keep you pushing forward. Not to just brush you off and toughen up, suck it up, guy. Not that way, but listening and giving you advice and things that worked and didn't work, and cared enough to do those things. And so whether that's a family member or a professional or a coach or a counselor, find the right person for you, and be confident and comfortable in that setting, and be vulnerable. It's okay to be vulnerable. We all need help. It's just a matter of when. Yeah. And that could be today, that could be tomorrow, that could be in a year, but you will go through things in life that will set you back, and you want to surround yourself with plenty of things that can help you through that.
That's great.
Absolutely.
So maybe before we even get to some of the solutions and ways to fight off work stress, ultimately leading to burnout, I'm interested to know from each of you, just when do people come to you guys? Like when are people seeking a work stress counselor or a coach in business? Are they coming to you when they're just starting to feel a little bit of stress? Are they coming to you when they're like full in it? Are they just talking to you and saying, hey, I need you to rescue me from like the worst burnout that I have ever experienced? Maybe Janna first. When are people coming to you?
I can definitely answer that in 3 different ways. One, they come when they have already tried a long time to basically solve the problems themselves.
Yeah.
So there is a lot of investment there. They know what their obstacles are. They know, but they just can't do it by themselves. The second way is that a family member can often refer them.
Yeah. Okay.
An
You have to do
intervention.
this. Yeah.
Yes.
An intervention.
You're too difficult at home. You have to go see Janna.
Yes, you have to see somebody, and preferably, a person that can really help you with the entire group of problems that you have. But no, it's a very good thing that people can refer them out to somebody that is a professional who can help them with all of the different things that are going on in their brain. And another way that people come is that they realize, I want to step up my game. I have dealt with this in the past, and I really smell something coming on. I have been in a toxic work environment in the past, and I'm not doing that again.
Yeah.
So
great.
I see that really a lot where people are saying, I'm not there yet, but I can see it from where I'm standing. So I want to up my game, and reading a book just didn't do it for me or something. So
that's good. It's almost
kind of ways.
preventative.
Yeah, some of them are.
I would assume that's probably the most healthy. And is that how you can? Is that the place where you can help people the most? I suppose.
I don't know about that. I'd say the first one where we really see an intersection of I'm ready. I'm seeing some of the negative consequences of what's been going on. Like my boss is telling me, hey, we really need you to bear down, bring in more business, bear down on these cases harder, whatever your profession is, attorney, medical provider, financial analyst, anything, then they're usually, my clients are the ones who do take on it. We talked a little bit about that hero thing. We can talk about it a little more, but the taking on the 2x to 10x workloads.
You know, just to piggyback on that, Joel, Janna had some really great examples and ways of talking about that. From my perspective, in my world and where I've grown up, I'll give you a couple quick things. One particular gentleman came to me and he says, hey, I want to work with a coach. My business is, good, but it's not great. And there's things that need to be improved. We got to talking, and the first thing that really came out was his time management. He says, man, I'm working 80 hours a week. And, pretty much my wife said, if I don't get help and get this stuff straightened out, we're going to get divorced because I've missed kids' ball games and she's doing all the stuff at home. And all I do is work all the time. And there's resentment and all that stuff. We worked together for 3 months. And on a Friday afternoon or a Friday morning, I got a text, hey, can we meet for lunch a little later on? I said, yeah, sure thing. His wife was there with him. And we sat down, hey, how's it going? And ordered up our food, and we're sitting there, and he had a different demeanor in that particular meeting. He was kind of quiet. He was kind of subdued. Normally he's not. The wife speaks up. She's like, Jason, I just want to say thank you. I was like, oh, yeah, no problem. It's good to see you again, and glad everything's, going well. And she's like, no, you really don't get it. You saved our marriage. Then I about fell out of the floor. I'm like, you got to be kidding me. I'm like, what? And I'm like, no, you guys are great, great couple. And she's like, no, I was this close to walking out. Not that I didn't love him, didn't want to be with him. It just wasn't working. Yeah. There was too much stuff going on. And the coaching has refocused him better. And things have gone down a different path. We still had a lot of work to do. We made some progress for sure, but enough to convince her that she needs to keep going in the relationship. That really touched me. I never forget that. That was powerful. We were all crying and, or pouring, napkins in our face, trying to clean up our faces at lunchtime, Another situation, guy comes to me many, many years ago, and he was struggling to approach me. I could tell something was going on, and he just was almost at wit's end. And he says, Jason, I don't know what to do. I'm falling behind. I can't make anybody happy. I can't make my girlfriend happy. I'm not even happy with myself. I don't know what to do. And I said, well, I've noticed some things going on, when you pass somebody in the hallways and they look down, doing good. Hey, how you doing? And they just kind of keep going, you can see the signs. And I felt there was something going on, but at the time I was, a CEO, and this particular gentleman was at kind of the front lines level, would see him, talk to him in the break rooms, and, see him around from time to time. For some reason, he felt comfortable talking with me. We talked about football and we joke around and, and before work would start or stuff. And he came in and he was just struggling with some personal issues. He was struggling to get his act together professionally. And I said, well, what needs to happen for you before you start feeling confident again? Because it got into some internal things, some insecurities, and just some interpersonal things that were really at the root of all that. Mm-hmm. And we had about a 30-minute conversation in the office behind closed doors. And I said, I tell you what, here's what we're going to do. One, you've got some things you need to work on, but you need to work on them with somebody. We had a really good HR program. We had an employee assistance program. Part of that suite of services was counseling. Mm-hmm. They can go to a counselor every week and start working on, all of those things, and kind of trying to turn things around. I said, and here's what else I will do. If you will do it and you commit to it, I will personally mentor you at work, and we'll see where we go. And between the work I helped him with and what the counselor helped him with, he did a 180.
That's awesome.
He just didn't know what he didn't know. And when he became informed, he started making better decisions. And ultimately, 3 years later, was the star of the company.
That's awesome, man. That's great. And what I'm hearing ultimately is just, even if you're completely burned out, even if you're looking at this as a preventative measure, like, it is never too early or too late to talk to somebody, to actually address these issues, to fully lean in, talk to a family member, talk to somebody at church, in your community, to Jason or Janna, just talk to somebody. Absolutely. Well, then let's transition over to the happy stuff. What are some ways that we can just practically manage our stress so that it doesn't turn into burnout? Janna, what do you think about that?
Well, I have so many ideas. You could go on for another hour, but I'll try to make them succinct. A lot of times, both the habits and the mindset of what I told you I call work stress heroes has them sort of locked into this trajectory of work stress and then on into burnout and possible, loss of relationships. And so I think you do have to start a little bit with the mindset of a person who's really in, as Jason described, so drilled down into working and putting in time and catching every ball thrown. And so the hero mindset that I can imagine for Jason's client, that where they really stayed together and stayed married, is that many of them come in with this mindset of, first of all, people who rest are lazy.
Yeah.
We were all taught by great parents and grandparents and uncles and aunts that, you have a hard work ethic and you'll be successful. And we've so far done great with that, right? So you have to challenge that and say, no, resting is actually smart. I come back more innovative. I come back more willing, more motivated, more creative than when I really didn't rest at all. And rest doesn't have to be lying down or meditating. Rest can be go to a hockey game. Rest can be
Joel.
go something else, go somewhere else. Having work piled on me is love, for example, and I do everyone a favor when I stress at work.
Saying yes all the time.
Yeah. So this mindset has to be challenged by the hero and say, oh, maybe I need to put down some of that oldest. So many of my clients are firstborns, and so they just come into it naturally. They don't even know when it started. They just began taking care of everyone else and saying, I've got to, no matter what, I've got to take care of it. The problems that in my business are changeable. These are mindset issues that the work stress hero has got to kind of embrace. And finally, the biggest one that I see in mindset, and then we can move to habits if we have time, is my work stress is someone else's fault is a common assumption that everyone makes. It's outside of me. It's because of them, they, the company, the law, the government, the pandemic. It's all outside of me. So if it's outside of us, we can't do anything about it. But most work stress heroes actually have work stress in every job they work, every business they own, whether they're self-employed or not. So they actually have to fight that assumption and then go on to actually have some kind of revelation that actually, you know what, I'm actually in control of my work stress. Yeah. So some of the habits that I recommend for people, one of the biggest ones if we're running low on time, is definitely to check your mindset, but also experiment with no. Work stress heroes definitely catch every ball thrown. They work 2 to 10x, but then they have this feeling that what they do is never enough. So we want to experiment with no. And a lot of people say, well, don't you mean learn to say no? It's like, no, a work stress hero needs to experiment that when I say no, nothing bad's going to happen. If I don't answer the phone at 11 o'clock at night because I'm a mortgage banker, I could answer the phone at 9 o'clock or put that as so we try to back them out of some of the habits that answering the phone all weekend long, say, if they provide a service to a company. So experimenting with no, letting other people contribute, developing other people and continuing to do that instead of just saying, well, I tried it once, I didn't like it, they didn't do it my way. So trying to invest in this idea of letting other people contribute, not hogging all the limelight. So there's certain habits, investing in rest, as I said, honoring their way of resting. It might be, going water skiing. It might have nothing to do with quiet meditation or sleeping or something like that.
Mine's definitely sleep.
Yeah, mine too. So finally, as Jason has already said, seeking support where it means the most to you, a mentor, someone that a brother-in-law, that aunt that's important to you. It doesn't have to be a professional. Now, in some cases, when their neurobiology is really heightened, and or let's say the anxiety has gotten so bad that they don't understand what's happening to them, then yes, go to a professional. Go to someone that can explain to you your brain thinks you're being chased by a bear, and you're not. So it won't stop sort of barking. It's this dog that won't stop barking, and so that's where you start to get into some of the anxiety and burnout that you probably need a professional for.
Yeah. That's awesome. What about you, Jason? What are some ways that you have just counseled people, personal friends, and then obviously the people that you've worked with to just manage and or avoid work stress that leads to burnout?
Yeah. No, great advice, Janna. Thank you. We're so glad you're here today. You've been such a blessing to so many people already.
Smacked me with some truths for sure.
Yeah, no kidding. You know me. I'm about simplicity. When I think about stress and burnout, I think about it in 2 simple ways: expectations and control. Those usually are the heart from my perspective. I'm not an expert like Janna is, but from my perspective, very simplistically looking at it, where people start stressing and freaking out and getting into fears and, life starts getting a little chaotic for them and unpleasant, is when their expectations about their life, their work, other people, their neighbors, their friend, whatever that may be in their life, the expectations are disconnected from reality. And sometimes dialing that back in, and that's where, folks can help them with that, and realigning those expectations is very, very helpful. That in and of itself can be a remedy. The second thing is control. A lot of people, everybody likes their comfort zone. Everybody likes to get in a rhythm and figure out how to do things and get better and better at it and be the go-to person in their space. But sometimes people go a little overboard with it when you're talking about control. Sometimes they're scared to give up control, like they're not going to be the go-to person anymore, or they're sharing the limelight like you mentioned, or just afraid to fail, afraid to let somebody down, or I've had to kick people out of the building. It's a Friday night, and I'm walking through the building at 6:00 at night, and I'm like, go home. You did a great job this week. Go home. This can wait. Whatever you're doing, unless the building's on fire and you're gathering up your car keys to leave, go home.
Mm-hmm.
So for solutions for people out there listening, the most successful people, when you study everybody from presidents of the United States down to, inventors, down to everyday Joe people out there on the street, there is a common theme from what I have studied and what I have learned from experts like Janna and many others out there, is balance. Mm-hmm. When people get out of balance, they get stressed and their life gets crazier than it needs to be. And a lot of it is self-induced.
Mm-hmm.
And so I ask for you all out there listening to this podcast to take a look at your life, honestly look at every aspect of your life and ask yourself, am I truly balanced? And what do I mean by that? Well, specifically, mentally, physically, spiritually, emotionally, every way possible. Are you in a good place with your family and your relationships? If not, what's keeping you from being there? Are you working out? Are you exercising? Are you eating healthy? Do you believe in something bigger than yourself? Doesn't matter what religion you believe in, Allah, God, Jesus, Buddha, it doesn't matter. Believe in something bigger than you, in the world that you live in. Be connected to that. People, like-minded people that are connected to that. Take time to learn and develop yourself. I tell people that go through some of these types of struggles when I'm coaching them, you absolutely cannot give away what you don't have to give. And a lot of people that go through stress and discomfort in life really, really struggle with this. It's like they're busy all the time, stressed out all the time, just doing a bunch of stuff all the time, and they never take care of themselves. They think, oh, well, that's selfish. I my employees need something, or my wife needs something, or my kids. I'm there for everybody else, but they forget to look in the mirror and say, am I taking care of myself? Because if you die of a heart attack, or you're stressed out and you're, something bad happens to you, either you stay humble or somebody or something will ultimately humble you, and at least in my mind. And so I would just ask people to just genuinely ask yourself, am I really balanced? Because you can't give away what you don't have. So I always encourage people, take care of yourself first. It sounds selfish. It sounds, counter to the norms of the world. Take care of it's just like investing. If you don't pay yourself first, everybody else will take your money. Well, if you don't take care of yourself first, everybody's going to take your time, take your energy, take everything from you, to where you're stressed and exhausted and don't give a darn anymore. Mm-hmm. Take care of yourself. It's okay for you to sleep 7 hours a day. It's okay for you to eat healthy. It's okay to go to church. It's okay for you to have balance and harmony in your life and set boundaries and manage expectations, because people will actually respect you more and interact with you in a better way when you do those things. So those are some things I would say today. If you're not balanced, go do those things. If you need help, then you can go to Janna's website at Work Stress Guru, or you can go to my website, and we have links and helpful things that we can connect you with as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So a little bit more about you, Miss Janna. Just tell us a little bit more about your passion and drive and how you got in specifically to counseling people that are dealing with stress.
Well, it's a little bit, I wouldn't say it's embarrassing, because I've made a lot of peace with the fact that I've actually really experienced a lot of burnout. About 15 years ago and 15,000 miles away, I also went through a great deal of burnout, and I lost a lot of weight, was stepped up into a very important position, but I actually came through that, stayed in the country where I was for another 3 years, and I wrote a book about it. And it is the thing that made me want to come home and change professions, basically, and go back for another master's to actually learn, first of all, what happened to me, why was I like that, and then to help other people completely avoid what is very dangerous for their marriages, what is dangerous for their relationship with their kids, this idea of putting a job that they're almost addicted to in front of the important things in their lives. And while we do that, like Jason said, we really bear down and get almost addicted to doing the work that we do. And so that burnout is very real to me, and I have experienced it. And so, as I said, I wrote a book about it, and I told every secret, every story, every decision that my executives made, and all the way down to burnout, and then all the way coming back out of burnout. The boundaries discussions that Jason talked about, I definitely had to have those. And I'm too restless for a self-help book, so I wrote it as a story, as just and the last 10% of it, is advice.
Yeah.
I just think some books can be quite condescending, and so I'm very happy with some of the things the readers have said about the closure it gave them, and that they actually want people who are very burnt out say, I want to hand this to my loved one and say, this is what it's like for me. If you could just understand me better, this is what I'm going through. It's really hard.
That's awesome, man. And what if for anyone that's listening, what is that book called, and where can they find access to it?
It is called Burnout Diaries, and it's certainly on almost every outlet I can think of, from Amazon to Barnes & Noble, Walmart. It's Kobo. It's recorded as an audiobook and an ebook and hardback. It's a lot of places.
Well, that's awesome. Thanks. Well, and for anyone that's looking into these things, please check out Burnout Diaries by Janna Donovan. As we're wrapping up, just one last question that I would love to hear from both of you on. As we come out of the pandemic, again, hopefully, and I'm sure there's certain aspects of it that we're always going to have to just learn to live with. But as we come out, there has seemed to be a little bit more of a focus on mental health in the workspace. However, in my experience, there's just normally been a stigma. There's just been we don't talk about people's mental health. So first part of the question is, one, have you seen this stigma? And then two, what are some just very simple and practical ways that we can overcome the mental health stigma in the workforce?
Yes, the answer is yes, there is still a stigma. As much as companies are doing a great job, you see it everywhere on LinkedIn, every CEO, every HR professional is talking about mental health and how they can learn to do more than just throw a pizza party or all the things that people are trying to do. It's wonderful at the company level. But Jason's already called it out, that at the individual level, there is still a great deal of stigma with mental health in the workplace. We want to appear strong. We want to lead from the front with positivity and empathy, and we want to have all those positive experiences at work that we've worked for so long and so hard. And so we're very good at hiding when we are really struggling with sadness, depression, anxiety, fear. Fear is huge, and we are taught that we can protect the people that are under our charge, both our families and the people that work for us. So there is that's why all of this can be very private and should be very private as a person begins to deal with it. So they don't want other people looking at them in a different way. And as I've said before, I do think there's a little bit of stigma that people are trying to avoid. What do you think, Jason?
No, I completely agree. And one thing that folks can do out there, especially if you're a leader, you're a supervisor, manager, CEO, at whatever level, lead by example, meaning talk about it.
Yeah.
Get out there in your meetings, get out there in your company Zoom all calls or whatever, and talk about it.
Mm-hmm.
It's okay. Nobody's going to, look at you weird or like you're weak. Talk about it as a leader. One of the best examples I've seen of this is there's one particular pastor of the 5th largest church in the United States of America. This guy has got it together. Dresses well. He's very caring, loving, giving to the church congregation. Is involved in all kinds of things. He's very calm, very cool. Never really stressed or under pressure. I mean, he's got the weight of the world on his shoulders, and he acts like everything's, they're just cruising right along and doing good things in the world. And about 7-8 months ago, he came out in front of everybody and said, for the first time in my life, and this man is in his 60s, I started seeing a counselor. He had some stuff going on in his life. He had just all kind of stuff going on, and it just kind of hit, and everybody's like speechless. And he talked about that openly in front of people, not about every excruciating detail of his life or anything like that, but he talked about it in a very open manner, a very professional manner, and the struggles, and he had tears rolling down his eyes, and people connected with that.
Yeah.
I related to that. And, I have personally reached out to people at different times in my career, in my life, to get advice and to vent or to cry or to hug or to do whatever was necessary. It's okay.
Mm-hmm.
Be a leader and just talk about it. How is everybody doing? Another thing, if you're in management especially, is walk around. You can walk around on Zoom and connect with people and have conversations. You can walk around in the hallways if you're in the offices or wherever. Just walk around and talk to people. How are you doing today, Joel? And be genuine about that, and just, it's like a shepherd leading the flock. Really, just care about them, check in with them. At least they know you care, and talk about these things openly, and people will warm up, and that'll eventually evolve into the culture of where, hey, we're all one team, we're all one family. If somebody on the team is having a bad day, by God, we're going to rally around them. We're going to pick them up. We're going to hug them, and we're going to move forward together as a team. This is a team sport.
Man, that's great. That's great.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Man, well, and it just seems like from everything I've heard from you guys, it just matters that people are honest. Like, we do absolutely live in an environment where it's not normal for you to hear anything. But yeah, I'm totally great the moment that you ask somebody how they are. But so I would just challenge our listeners to just try and be honest. If you're not having a good day, say, oh, I'm not having that great of a day. And it may be that the person that you say that to doesn't really know what to do with that information. And that is all right. You were honest. You were completely open to that person. And I guarantee that you are going to find people in your workspace that actually care enough about you to either see that you are helped or help them personally. Well, as we wrap up, I just want to say again, thank you, Janna, for coming and joining us in the studio today. It's been nothing but a pleasure.
Thank you, Joel.
Man, we've learned a lot about just some practical ways to fight and avoid work stress that ultimately leads to burnout. Thank you for listening to Soar Higher with Jason Ballard. All of our social links for the show will be in the show notes. Please check those out, and please like and subscribe. We're always looking for new ways to interact with our listeners, so reach out if you have anything that you'd like us to talk about. Please check out Janna at workstress.guru. Again, that's workstress.guru, and please check out her book, Burnout Diaries, on Amazon or any other place that you get your books. If you're interested in learning more about Jason and his work as a business and executive coach, please visit soarhighercoaching.com. That's soarhighercoaching.com. And join us again next week as we provide more insight on how to overcome the latest business and career challenges people are facing in the workforce today. We'll see you next week. All right. How long did it take you to write that book?